that right?
Yeah. You
Sorry, I'll just...
I think that's it, isn't it? Yeah, that's good. Right.
Alright, welcome everyone. Grammar. We're going to do our first sort of formal grammar. And I'm going to start talking about Hungarian dialects this morning. So we start with the totality, the big picture. What I'm going to try to do is arrange a lot, not all grammar, but a fair bit of it, where we actually do the difficult stuff first. And then we practice it more throughout the course, so that I can comment on it, correct you, whatever, give you feedback as you're working with it, either in your writing or in the speaking, what I hear people saying. So, difficult stuff are articles. I'm going to write the little symbol that I use, because when I give you back your writing, these are the symbols you're going to get on your writing maybe. So we're going to do that work, and I guess accountability. Accountability, we've already, at least in speech, I've been correcting people's plurals. Okay? Some of my friends, that will be marked when you're writing with an N. Why an N? Because it stands for number. It doesn't, you might make a mistake where you put a plural and it shouldn't be plural, it should be singular. Or you put a singular and it should be plural. It's that category, and you're going to have to think about it. So when you get your writing back tomorrow, I had it ready today, but some people who are not here Friday have given it to me. I'm going to mark back, give it all back together. I have a list of codes I may as well give out in a moment. And these are the codes you'll get on your writing. Now, I'd say 10 to 20% of the time, I will correct your written expression. I will change it so that it's, correct English. But only about that percentage of the time. Because the other 80 or 90% of the time, I'm going to give you a pretty good clue about what kind of error you're making. There's an article error here, there's a preposition error, there's a number error, there's a slang error, there's a spoken written error, there's a verb form error. I'll give you the list. And your job is to reflect on it yourself and with other people, and we'll talk about how we do that until you arrive at your best guess. And it may not be correct, but alright, your best guess, then you check with 2 other people, and then if you're still wondering, then you check with me. And I tend to find there's only a pretty small percentage of things that I need to talk to people about. Now, why do I do that? Not just I do that, other diploma teachers do that, because to learn anything, it's processing, isn't it? If you process and you think, why this and why not that, and I don't know, and I'm going to ask somebody, I'm going to look in this grammar book, I'm going to consult this website about that issue. If I just give you the answer, almost no processing, not much movement forwards. So, the old story, no pain, no gain. So it's definitely a more painful process. For you and me, it's quicker if I just write the answer. Quicker for me. But I think this process will optimise your development. Okay? And the other thing about it is, it's hopefully creating what I've talked about quite a lot, meta-awareness. Because after a while, you'll become aware of what kind of error you're making. And as a writer, who am I as a writer? Am I a preposition? And I might as well give you out the list because I'm talking a lot about this. Take some and pass them back. Here's the full category. You know, am I a spelling person and an article person and a preposition person? Or somebody else might be a tense person and an article person and a punctuation person. You know, what's your particular profile? I talked about this the other day, and the fact that the dominant type of error will probably form a curve. The top kind of error, followed by the next kind of error, followed by the next kind of error. And you've got to focus on those top three, because they will probably be responsible for about 60 to 80% of your errors. Which is kind of good news, because all you have to do is focus on, say, those top three categories and work on them, and then you'll see a lot of movement. Let's have a look at the categories. Spelling, SP. You know, some people have that issue, some people don't. I'd say actually, interestingly, more than usual in this particular group. More kind of people with spelling issues, which just by chance. So no worries, we'll do some work on spelling strategies, definitely. P, punctuations or capitals. So example there, 3 errors there. Can I speak English? Capital C, capital I, question mark. So the P I would put, you know, if it's just, could be capital problem, that's a P. Lack of a question mark, that's a P. Missing a comma, that's a P. Semicolon should be there, but it's not, that's a P. Quotation marks, P. You know, any punctuation, P. Maybe you've put a comma and it shouldn't be there, P. You put a full stop and it shouldn't be there, P. Okay. T, tense. I think at this level you can probably correct that sentence. He came. VF, verb form. Tense overall is right, but you know there's something wrong with the form of verb. It's missing an auxiliary here, isn't it? The little helping verb is, because you need the continuous form. So that one might be, a common reason I put that is because somebody's written a passive and it should be active, or you're trying to write a passive but you've missed your auxiliary, or sometimes passive-active issues. It could be infinitive or gerund. Like, I refrain from smoking. You know, not refrain to smoke, refrain from smoking. So that would be a preposition verb form problem. N, I could explain that one. I bought lots of apples. Missing your plural. A, article. You can catch the bus. Could be a bus, but you need something. So A does not stand for a. It could be the. Or you might have written a the and it should be nothing. It's some problem with articles. PR, preposition come to. Come to my house. WO, word order. I like oranges very much. So all the words are fine, everything's fine, just the order. WW, wrong word. Today it's shiny. So in other words, this could be, like in this case, not a collocation. It makes logical sense, doesn't it? We know what that person means, but it's not the right choice in English. Today it's sunny. You can say today the sun's shining. That's how you can use that verb, but you can't say today it's shining. So WW, either you've just chosen the wrong word, single word, or it's not a collocation. You've got some problem with the collocation. PS, wrong part of speech, noun, verb, adjective. Can you write adverb in there as well? ADV. My head is very... Pain is a noun. We need an adjective, don't we? Painful. Yeah. Even that does sound a bit weird. It's not something we'd say, but it'll be grammatically okay. That little mark, that omission mark, omit, the verb is omit, O-M-I-T. Leave something out. He is tall. Many languages you don't need to say that is, do you? You just say he tall. But in English you've got to have that. So there, that's missing. Now what I'll try to do when I'm looking at your work, if sometimes you might miss 3 words all in a row, I'll put 3 of those little marks. So it'll give you some indication of how many words you're missing. SS, sentence structure. I'll tell you how you can come to my place. So, not just word order, there's a bit of prepositional work, a bit of restructuring you need to do there. Slash, those things are called slash, S-L-A-S-H, a slash. Right? That's, or more precisely, a forward slash, because that, with computing these days, that is a backslash. Different from a backlash, backslash. Slash is like that, when you go like that. Material verb, slash. You're cutting your way through the forest with a machete, a big knife. You slash at the plants. That movement was a slash with a knife. So again, material verb creating a noun here. Slash, metaphor, from the material verb. And that next one, okay? What? What the hell? Question mark. That's when I give up. Right? What do you mean? I'm not sure. If I really don't know, I might put 2 or 3. But look, since this I've used for some years, but I've added a few extras. A teacher gave that to me some years ago, and I have added these other ones that I find useful. SVA, subject-verb agreement. So just getting the verb and the subject correct. Everybody thinks, that famous final S. Or you might put they thinks, and it should be they think. So just getting that agreement. That's what we call agreement. SL, slang. Kids today feel too pressured. What's the problem? What's the problem with that?
Is it simple?
Kids. Kids is slang. It's very spoken. Children. Yeah. Young people, whatever you want to say. So you've got to get sensitive to... it depends what you're writing. If you're just writing an email to a mate, a friend, you can write that stuff, can't you? But you're writing formally, professionally, academically, you have to avoid slang. Slang in any language is that stuff that we rarely write. We do see it in casual emails, in comics, in theatre and film scripts, but that's where it tends to stay. So you need to get sensitive to what is slang or not. And look, SPWR, spoken written, it's a little bit the same as slang, but you wouldn't actually say it's slang. The team did lots of research on osteoporosis, say, some medical condition. What should we say here?
The team conducted?
A lot of, still even a bit spoken. Not many, because that's for countable nouns, which we're going to deal with in a minute. Plenty of, even a bit too spoken. A great deal of. Substantial. There are these more formal words for quantity. A great deal of, yeah. A great deal of will get you out of trouble pretty much anywhere in writing when you want to say a lot. Now even as you said, Nicole, lots of, a lot of, there's a little bit of a difference there, isn't there? That is more casual, that is more spoken than that. There are these slight differences, but even, I'd say take them both out. They're too spoken still. Yeah. So, look, I have collected a lot of these already from people's writing issues. I'm going to put them up on the board. We will even start today before you get your stuff back. I'll just put up lots of sentences with errors in them. You're going to have a good look at them, discuss them with each other, and try to correct them. I think this is one way of dealing with the grammar issues that the group has got at this point. We'll do that later. Red. Not the colour red. Redundant. Redundant means unnecessary. If you're sacked from your job, a nice way of saying it is, she was made redundant. That noise, termites. They're getting bigger and bigger. Termites, the white ants. So watch out. If you see one come through the wall, tell me. Redundant. If something's unnecessary. So look at this. The racism is a key issue in society. No, you might want to say it's a key issue. You think that's quite important. That's meaningful. Don't lose that. In society, can you please take that word, but if you're going to use it by itself, take that word, get a match, and burn it. Just get rid of it, totally. I hear it all the time and it's just so unnecessary. Yeah. Put it this way, you read academic writing, sociologists, historians, psychologists who are writing about society, they never write society believes. You know, they might say, society in the late 19th century in northern France, yeah, that's a particular specific society, isn't it? But society, what does that mean? There's no such thing, is there? We've got to be more precise in our thinking. That word irritates me hugely, as it does a lot of people in social sciences, because it's just such a broad and misleading and, as we say, it's a blunt instrument. It's not a sharp knife, it doesn't cut anything. Just throw it out. Racism is a key issue today. Where else is it going to be? If it's not in society, is it going to be amongst cats? Or is it going to be at the bottom of the garden? Where is it going to be? It's obvious. It's in society. It has to be, doesn't it? Yeah. So you don't need to state it. That's the point. A lot of the time, people will write something and there's an element in the sentence that is already implied in another word, and therefore you just don't need to say that stuff. And it's just kind of hanging there useless. It's doing nothing. It's empty language. Just cut it off, throw it away. Right? Remember that word. Succinct. Saying a lot in a really little bit of space. Succinct. Really economical use of language. That's our aim, always. Especially with writing, more than with speech. I mean, it's good to be like that in speech too, but more psychologically acceptable. But writing, tight, short. Say what you need to say and get out. All right, conf. It's just a new one I've introduced after reading a couple of pieces. Confusion. And by this I mean, sometimes when people are writing, it's not actually a grammar or a language issue. It's more a concept or an ideas issue or some sort of mix or problem. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, right. Thanks. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes it's actually more the thinking that's behind the language, that's the problem. And there might be some elements you're tangling together or confusing, and that's getting reflected in the tangled language. Just sometimes this happens. So, conf. Positive or negative aspects are bad. Somebody wrote something similar to this. I mean, there's nothing really wrong with that grammar. It's more the thinking, isn't it? I mean, a positive aspect can be bad. You can't have it. It's a contradiction, isn't it? And the negative aspect is bad. Well, that's redundant. Like, you've already just said it's negative. You don't need to say it's bad. So there's kind of this... I think somebody needs to do more work with the concept map, the ideas first. Getting your ideas clear. And then write. This can also happen with the longer your sentence gets, and the more you're trying to manage different elements of the sentence, and you've got a long noun phrase and then a verb and another complex subordinate clause, and people get tangled up inside that, and the ideas start to get confused, and you're trying to say 5 things in the one sentence, that can be a problem. Go back to just shorter sentences and separating the ideas and so on. Anyway, we'll talk more about that when we get examples, but that's what that category means. Okay, so when you get your work back, you're going to see various combinations of those. One thing I try to do is have just a quick look over it and say, okay, what are the dominant 3 or 4 categories, and just give you some reminder of what they are. but we'll talk more about that tomorrow when I get it back to you. The point about mentioning these categories is that, you know, that one is a huge one for just about everybody, and so is that one. And that can be difficult too, this countability stuff. So we're going to start the few months we got together looking at those things, so that if we get the main ideas kind of set up and the language about those ideas set up, then we can look at lots of examples as they come up in people's writing and speech, and we get lots of practice. So I'm going to start with this one. But in order to start with that, I have to start with this. Because to decide on articles effectively, you need to, your second question, three questions you ask when you decide on an article. One, is something unique? And there are 7 conditions under which something is unique, and I'll go into those 7 conditions. If you get a no to that, the next question is it countable? Right? And then you've got to understand issues in countability. And if it is countable, then you've got to ask yourself, is it plural? Right? So you've got that sequence. This is why articles are hard, because you've got 3 key questions, and this first question is big because it's got 7 elements in it. And you've got to know those 7 elements well, right? So we're not going to tackle that yet, because as a stepping stone to dealing with that, which is such a big thing, we've got to start here with countability. Right? And if we get that second question and the issues in that clear, then I can introduce the whole field of this, and we can look at that question 1 and all the 7 issues in it. Okay? So that's why I'm starting with these things. After articles, we'll move to this. Okay? And this is the tough stuff. And then we need to go to tenses and conditionals. And there are other things as we travel along that way, but that's the broad sort of pattern for the term. Okay? I just want to explain that's why we're doing this stuff first, so we get the most practice, and this is why we start here. So, that's why you got that. Where does this come from? It's this book, A Cambridge Grammar of English, big fat green thing. It's got a CD in it. I reckon everybody should have that on their shelf. It's the best grammar book you can't even find. Why is it so good? Because it's got a very different approach. We've already in our computer classes used computers quite a lot. Think of just the word, or think of the gap maker and the highlighter yesterday, things like that, you know. Or probably more just the word. Just the word, you put in a word like variable, and it goes and looks at a database of English and tells us what words go with variable, doesn't it? As a noun, as an adjective, etc. Okay. Now you can use computers to ask the same sort of question about grammar, but it's only been relatively recently you can do that. And so in the last 15 years or so, these guys have, Cambridge and Cambridge Uni, have gathered words and got a corpus, and then they've, as we say, interrogated the corpus, which means like ask, demand, like a police interrogate someone. And you say, okay, what's the most common grammatical structure, you know, after a particular phrase like expect? And it will tell you. And then they write the book. So what does that mean? That means that grammar in here has come from real evidence. It's come out of the statistics of how British people, at least, actually speak English. Most other grammar books don't have that resource. Somebody sits there and thinks, yeah, what do we do after a conditional? Oh, this is how we do first conditional, this is how we do second, this is how we do third, and they get the rules. And that's pretty accurate and pretty good. But this goes another step to what people really do. And as you know, in your native language, you know, there are the rules, and then there's what people do. And it's not a huge gap, otherwise we rewrite the description of the rules, don't we? But there is a gap. what you'll find here, as we go through it, you'll see some examples of, what natives actually do. It's called, in the study of language, it's called usage. Usage. How do people actually use a particular bit of grammar? How do they use a particular word? That's usage. So it's very strong on usage. So, for those of you who want to get to level 5 native-like, you need that resource. Because, sure, you can work through advanced grammar, and that'll get you a long way. But you want to close that last gap of what people actually do and the patterns of how they do it, that will do it.
This book is more like a dictionary or more like teach you step by step how to word.
You can either work through it as chapters, so like nouns and determiners, word to grammar, there's a whole section on academic writing, speech acts, it's got categories, clause combinations, or you can go to the back and you can look up a particular thing like non-count nouns or lovable clauses or numerals, both. You can have a look, pass it around. Yeah. I bought it years ago when it first came out. I paid far too much for it. You can get it online for something in the $30 to $40 mark, I think. Just by the way, I will recommend a number of books.
It's the latest edition, isn't it? Just one edition, or?
I think that's the latest. Do you know that website, Book Depository? A depository is like a warehouse. Just yesterday I bought another book there. I tend to use that one because unlike Amazon, you'll get a price, but then there'll be a shipping cost. They have no shipping costs. And they tend to be the cheapest. So have a look for it on there. Or the other one, it's sometimes cheaper. It's a bit of a competition, I find. I mean, there are others, but those are the ones I find usually get me the cheapest books that I'm looking for.
Can you get it in Oxford?
Probably if you waited till about 2079, it might appear. But it would be a long wait. That's the problem with Oxfam. Oxfam has a good service. You can say, it's not a bad idea. Tell them you want that. You can ring them up and you can say, I want this title of book. Keep your eye up. And they have volunteers. They're just always checking titles against the list. If they see it, they'll ring you. So it's quite a nice service. Best of luck.
Is there a waiting list for that book?
Hey?
That book, is there a waiting list for it?
A reading list?
No, a waiting list.
A waiting list?
Yeah.
For that, you mean in Oxfam?
Or can you just get the book if you want to get it?
Look, they have that book. I'm pretty sure I saw it about a week or two ago in Dimmick's, our biggest bookshop up in Rundle Mall. You know that bookshop? It is the biggest one, and it's probably got the biggest ESL collection. It's up in Rundle Mall, almost to the end of the mall on the right. Reasonable ESL and language section. I think it's there in the 60s, $60 a month. But I think you get it cheaper online, like most things.
Oh, okay. So there's no waiting list online? Can you just get the book?
Sure, yeah, these. I think you'd just be able to order it. And
okay.
they say 8 days, but it usually takes longer, I find. More like 2 weeks, sometimes 3, but at least you get it cheap.
Do you think you can borrow from library as well?
I think there is a copy in the library. 3, right. Ready, set, go. Yeah, look, it's going to last. That reference, along with a few others I'll mention, like I think the Macquarie Dictionary already, that's another thing. These are just like long-term reference items you need for many years. Okay, so we'll dip into this bit on countable and non-countable nouns. You can see what you think of it. Try before you buy kind of thing. One gap, one weakness is there are no exercises. There are no grammar exercises. It's purely descriptive. So I will supplement it. I will add some exercises once we've done some of this work. Okay, but that is another project. Somebody to write a whole lot of exercises around this book would be a good idea. Make $1 million. All those IELTS students out there. Okay, we're going to go from section 180. It's section, not page. No, sorry. Totally the wrong thing here. Let me see, where am I going to start? I think I've stapled it in the wrong spot. Let's go. Can you see, instead of the staple there, I should have put it there, sorry. Because I want to start